So I just want to speak something that I need to give myself permission, and I want to invite you to enter into it with me. This is going to be like a multi-targeted homily. There's like numerous things. I'm pretty linear frequently, like point A to point B, and at point B there's a conclusion. Today that's not going to happen. Just so you know, there's a few things I want to hit on, and they're all interrelated in some way, shape, or form. But we're going to kind of jump around. So I just want to give you that, so that you know that as we kind of jump in. The first thing is this. When we're in a setting like this, sometimes we have to divest ourselves of our expectations of what church should look like. And we have to providentially trust that what we have here makes up for what we have at home, and vice versa. There's no church here, like there's no physical building here. And I think that's really interesting because last night at dinner there was a conversation just about the grandiosity, the beauty of the structures that we've been walking through, and it was a beautiful conversation. But right now, today, like when we celebrate Mass, there's no physical structures that exemplifies the beauty or the grandiosity of our faith. But on the flip side, it's God's creation that is the church, and this sanctuary, our altar, is in the midst of God's sanctuary of His creation. So in other words, the physical absence of a church from a human perspective, because we didn't create anything here, is actually made manifest by God Himself because we're in His church, which is to say nature. It's like, oh my gosh. Like, how could we ever outdo God? Right? How could we ever have the audacity to think that we could outdo God in His creation? Like there's flies buzzing around, there's like bees buzzing around. Like you don't have that back in Nebraska, or at least if you do, people are like freaking out in church. Well, it's like here it's just like a part of the experience. And would we change it for the world? I wouldn't change it for the world right now. That's the first one. First target. Second target's this. I'm moved by the lack of Jesus's need to advertise. Like there are many business owners here. Like in your budget, how much of your budget on a yearly basis is advertising?
20%.
Okay. And then what was your guys's?
Probably the same.
And then what's yours? Okay. Which is totally fine. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, right? I'm not making any uh, suggestions or moral judgments on that whatsoever. It's necessary. I get that. So yesterday we celebrated the birth of Saint John, and he comes to, and he is anointed to speak truth, and his advertising are his words. Like that's the way that he advertised, was with what he spoke. And Jesus enters in, and it's beautiful because Saint John actually prepares the way for Jesus to be able to use words as the primary way to quote unquote advertise. And so in today's gospel, okay, we're finally to the gospel here. Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing. I was just moved by, phones and technology, and all of the messages that we encounter on a daily basis. Like how much of the airspace is simply filled with things of advertising for things of the world, which I get. Like it's necessary. It's like how you like capture your audience, get customers. I'm not making a moral judgment on that whatsoever. But our Lord never took out an ad. He never took out an ad. Because he never needed to, because the truth of what he spoke was enough for the audience he was speaking into to either move their hearts to submit to him or to give them the space to say, no, I'm not, like, I'm not interested. I'm not going to follow you. And it's so countercultural because the beauty, in my opinion, of St. Francis is he does the exact same thing. Like he never advertised. Which leads us to the end, my like third target here. Jesus literally says, by their fruits you will know them. How many people in Francis' time looked at this man and thought, this, like Josh said this morning, this guy's got to be crazy. He's got to be nuts. But we're not talking about any of those people today. We're talking about the man who slept on a slab of rock, who talked about creation as brothers and sisters, like God's creation as brothers and sisters. And we're just enamored by him because he clearly had something out of this world, but found it in this world. And that's what makes him so attractive, even hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years after his death. To the point where it's like, okay, I want to be like this man in America, which would be an interesting social experiment, right? I don't know if America's ready for Francis. But I think what I'm going to argue is that in light of what Jesus says today, by their fruits you will know them. Like, we can clearly know that Francis was led by the Spirit because the fruit of what happened when our Lord invited him to build back up his church. It was a church that was dying. Well, you can make that same claim right now. Like, the church is shrinking. Lukewarmness is the norm in the hearts of those that sit in the pews in our physical churches back home. Again, grotesque generalization, not trying to say that in any condescending way whatsoever, but it's just a generalization for the sake of argument of where we're currently at. One last target. There's a peace here that is divine, and God's creation invites us into that peace, and I'm going to argue that we're able to submit to it more easily here than maybe other places because God's creation so beautifully acquiesces itself to God's peace, and then we, experiencing that, are invited into that space. We're about to lose all of God's creation and enter into a city that is just bricks and mortar and chaos and noise and sirens and like vomit and like feces on the ground. Like, it's just gonna be madness. Like, full disclosure, like, get ready for madness. Like, feces on the ground. Like, there will be that. Like, just get ready, okay? But it's okay because the spirit of what we've experienced here is something that we can maintain throughout the entirety of the chaos that we're about to enter into in the city of Rome. So just during this Mass, in a very intentional way, I invite all of us, myself included, to just ask our Lord for the gift of being able to maintain the gift of peace that we've, God willing, received here in and through the intercession of St. Francis himself. This fruit that we've experienced here is something that we can carry with us as we enter into this new space, very different, but fruit-filled in a very different way.